payments.
And we haven't even talked about how fintech will create a secondary market.
Mm.
And that'll be another day, no doubt.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Hello and welcome to the African Tech Roundup, episode 125B, I guess, because this is the second half of a two-part episode. And so if you haven't heard the first half of this, do the thing and listen to that first, because our guest on the show is the co-founder and president of a fintech company called Ovamba. And Musa Kalenga and I had an incredible conversation with the force of nature that is Viola. And being that she joined us for the last in-studio taping of 2018, we reckoned, let's take as long as we need with the lady. And we're so glad we did. So without any further ado, we're going to pick up where the last show left off. Enjoy.
There is worse happening than is actually reported. Killing of kids in their beds in schools, raping, harassing people on the street.
Yeah.
In this day and age, it should be avoidable. It isn't. It isn't just about language. It's about, I think, the last screams of a dying era.
Okay. It's horrible to think of this, but as a Zimbabwean who knows how profitable chaos can be.
Yes, it is.
It's a profitable time for some.
It always is. Even the United States government, the economy goes up when there's war, when you now need to make tomahawks and all sorts of weapons, or to manage the theater of conflict.
Or build hydro projects.
Yeah.
Because France's EDF has just signed a deal.
Why have they shown up there?
$1.37 billion
but they're not
US
willing to step up and say these things are wrong.
No. But let's build a hydro project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, it's a great thing. I mean, 65 kilometers away, northeast of Llewellyn.
But here's the thing. Are there no Cameroonian engineers or other, quote-unquote, African engineers that can band together and do this?
Why do that when the EDF can, do it for us and own 40% of the project in the process? And, of course, the Cameroonian state can keep 30% of that project.
And at what
why
point,
would you do that?
How much trickles down to everybody else?
Yeah. Look, the other people involved here, too. I mean, it's the International Finance Corporation, apparently will also own 30%. And there are at least 11 other development finance institutions.
Will
and
any private
citizens
banks, be allowed to buy shares in this?
Four local commercial banks.
Somewhere
there,
but we're not going to talk about the Douala Stock Exchange.
So those are not citizens.
Yeah, so folks, if you haven't caught my sort of, if you haven't caught wind of our tongue-in-cheek exchange here, those are the facts. You read into everything else what you might read into it. It's just, as someone who comes from a country that has a current turbulent sort of political present and certainly a pretty rough recent past. Chaos can be pretty profitable, and
it's an asset class.
Yeah, it's an asset class. Yeah,
sure.
War is a security for some.
It's a sad thing. I mean, I also just reflect on where Zambia is at the moment, because we haven't had a war since I don't even know when, but we've been colonized nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
So the example you were giving around the Chinese coming in and these wonderful acts of mercy by laying down roads and infrastructure, and because of the amount of debt that Zambia, as an example, owes to the Chinese government, they start actually taking over organs of state as part of one of the default conditions. So, and that emerges not out of war; it just emerges out of a lack of diligence, a lack of foresight, and a lack of actually being able to have conversations with the
people who are running the asylum need to be the inmates.
Yeah.
If you think about our continent in some regions. And the sad thing is, I went to China and thought it was the most fantastic place.
Yeah.
Everything I saw and the people I met.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I have come to realize that the governments and their government relationships internationally are not the same as the potential between the human beings, person to person.
That's true. In the same way, I mean, with Liberia, there's the problem with literally villagers losing their forests to people who come in. They've struck deals with the government to come log. They put up fences. People are fenced out of the forests of their childhood and literally policed out of their own country. So I mean, there's so many versions of the story in different parts of the continent, and we see it happening. And I suppose all this to say, we see you. We see you.
I'll just say it for you. It's economic rape.
Economic rape, yeah.
There should be another type of Me Too movement for the continent's resources.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we just come out of a pretty dark part of our show, but here's some really great news. Now, this is genuinely
Shine
great
a
news.
light.
Gotta be real.
Gotta be real. Gotta be real. Listen, congrats to the Cameroonian health tech entrepreneur.
Yes, well
Melissa
done.
Bime.
Is that how
Women
you say
in
her name?
STEM.
Sorry?
Is that
I
how you
love
say her
it.
name? Bime?
Is it Bime, I think?
MBIME?
It's
B-I-M-E.
B-I-M-E.
Yeah, I think it's
Bime.
Bime.
Bime. Yeah. So Melissa Bime, you've won $25,000.
Well done, Melissa.
That's what the Anzisha Prize is worth.
That's not a sniff.
Come around and buy us coffee.
Yes. You don't drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee. Do us pizza. Come buy your compatriot coffee and buy me pizza.
So proud of her.
Yeah, so she's the founder of something called Infuse. That's INFIUSS. It's an online blood bank and digital supply chain solution, which currently ensures that at least 33 local hospitals in Cameroon have timely access to blood. Shout out to you, lady. Shout out to you.
Clap. Yeah.
And the reason I even mentioned how much they've won, I mean, the Anzisha Prize is for youth.
Yeah.
This is the kind of, I think, investment we need to start to make in our ecosystem early. Yeah. Don't talk to me about $25,000 prizes for startup founders in their 20s and 30s. And don't talk to me about those kind of shows. We've said enough about this. I think this is an appropriate gesture of goodwill and encouragement to a young person at the right age.
Also, I've got to shout out on the gender front that there are statistics that show that female founders and their management of operational capital is way more efficient than men, young boys, young men of their age. But I have a comment, Musa. Please, I'd love to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that there are certain subjects that are not taught in our schools?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know any school curriculum, especially in Francophone Africa, that is teaching people the entrepreneurial application within the sciences or STEM to produce a viable product. You have to respect that.
Yeah.
It just blows me away.
Yeah.
No, look, I mean, I must agree with you. And I mean, I was also going to give a shout out to Anzisha because, I mean, obviously being close collaboration with the African Leadership University, which I think is kind of starting to think about that that way of problem solving. And it's a really difficult thing to scale because, I mean, Fred, shout out to you as well. Having built the African Leadership Academy, my best experience of understanding how young people get into an ecosystem and start to figure that out from first principles has been the African Leadership Academy. So when the kids join that environment, as an example, they all elected to a board and you actually serve in a company environment within your schooling tenure. So you attend board meetings, you pay rent, you do all that kind of thing. So they simulate it.
This is where our education actually needs to begin. Yeah. How many children have you seen, at least when my mother took us back to Cameroon, there were some children who didn't go to school. Their job was to help their mother on that vegetable garden and take these things to market.
Yeah, and get them sold.
And bring the money back.
Yeah.
And they could.
Yeah.
They did it
us entrepreneurship,
we're not replicating that.
Yes,
let alone even
we can raise the
it.
level for it. Yeah. Oh, I'm just so
it's
impressed.
not. It's not happening on a whole scale, and let alone when you get to the STEM subjects as an example. So, I think what's his name, Sizwe in Lasana, has recently started a range of schools called Future Nation, which are starting to try and solve those problems, introducing robotics and project-based learning and that kind of thing. There's Nova Pioneer, Chinedzi. So they kind of it's starting to get there, but it's by no means mainstream or wholesale thinking yet. Yeah. And I think
it will adopt well. Absolutely. I know Janet Fofang in Yaoundé has a school. I know a young guy, he's only 19 or 20, Zach Ngwangali. He's the son of a friend of mine I went to school with, Michelle. He actually has a school in Kribi where he teaches kids. He's 20.
Wow.
Janet has, she teaches robotics and engineering in Yaoundé, and there are so many people that are doing these things off in silos. I think is their last name in Gassa as well. There are people in places
doing their thing. Look, shout out to the runners-up of the Anzisha Prize, by the way.
Well done, they're all
You
winners.
guys deserve a shout-out to 18-year-old Sierra Leonean Alhaji Siraj Ba, whose company produces paper bags and cooking briquettes. 21-year-old Ugandan Joanne Narubega, second runner-up, receiving $12,500 for her mosquito repellent soap, which is incredible.
What I would love to see happen now is a lawyer with IP skill donate his time to protect all of their ideas now. Look at that guy that created the lion repellent product in, was it not Malawi? Where was that young man?
It could be Malawi. So let me check. Let
There
me
was
do a
somewhere.
quicker.
There was a follow-up report. That guy made not one penny. A whole bunch of people went and copied and monetized and have gone running to the bank with it.
It's in Kenya.
It was in
actually.
Kenya.
So his
Nothing came
Richard
from it.
Turere.
That's
Richard
poor
Turere.
guy.
Wow.
Yep.
So everybody thinks that you're going to come up with a great idea and be the next African Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. But there are certain underpinnings that need to be in place. All children from the age of 10 need to learn basic law, along with how to market yourself, write, sell yourself or
IP
your product.
sensibilities. And I suppose
IP sensibility is so important.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good challenge to. I think Visa's a sponsor of Anzisha, so Visa
MasterCard.
Is it
MasterCard, they better
So
get people in there and
challenge to
teach
you.
them how to
MasterCard's
protect
so
them.
mad right now. They're like, after all that branding, after all that support, it's just
My bad.
They're talking. They remember Visa.
The MasterCard Foundation.
Sorry.
MasterCard Foundation.
There's
Nah,
a
it's
challenge.
okay. They'll be all right.
We'll
But
edit it out.
MasterCard, because they're big boys and girls over there.
Cool.
So, listen, some more great news coming out of the small West African nation of Benin. Following peaceful public sit-ins, Benin has repealed a tax that would have seen them join Uganda and Zambia in surfing that way, towards taxing
Well
the use
done.
of social
Teach
media
Tanzania,
platforms. Yeah.
who are taxing bloggers.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I mean, Zambia's taxing over-the-top applications like WhatsApp. So anything that's going to allow you to do voice calls, they're calling it protecting the
They're so wrong.
mobile
They're so wrong.
telcos.
If they know how much revenue they will make on the back end by allowing people to develop product services
Tell
and
it,
talk
sister.
for free,
Tell
They're
it.
too lazy to do the hard work around
it.
developing
it's
the
so
solutions.
foolish.
Yeah.
When are we going to reduce the age of ministers?
No, you know what they're looking at? They're looking at the sort of short-term tax deficit they'll encounter because mobile telcos will take a dive, and they're not thinking about like the broader implications.
Where
creation.
things fall, other things rise. Let's get creative. Speaking of Benin,
Yeah.
did you see on the TV yesterday, I think it was the armistice for the 100 years for the end of this Second
yes, they've
World
been
War.
celebrating that
And there were
recently.
various individuals came and contributed their talent and skills to the celebrations. And they kept on referring to a woman, a singer from Benin.
No, I didn't see this. Was this about
It was
BBC
Angelique
or-
Kidjo. The guy obviously hadn't done his
No
homework.
way!
Oh, I
Are
was
you kidding me?
annoyed. I
Are
was
you
so
kidding me?
annoyed.
I've seen her live twice.
I've seen her live in a small room in Washington,
real?
D.C. Her voice can shake the walls. And there she is performing at one of the most
like
poignant
someone from Benin,
moments.
someone from
Like
Benin.
A great singer from Benin.
Wow.
Terribly good singer from Benin.
You can even Google it and find out, like,
please.
even by Western
The
standards,
bloody nerve.
by Grammy standards,
Yeah.
by whatever standard,
She's
like
sung
she's
with
incredible.
Joss
Shazam her.
Stone. She's sung
Shazam
with the
her, yeah,
Rolling
Shazam.
Stones. She's big time. That's like saying a wonderful lip shaking, knee wobbling individual from the southern part of the United States. Oh, Elvis Presley. Well done.
I thought I genuinely thought you were talking about Beyonce because that's the
Yeah,
only
well,
person from the
she's
South
a lip
I rate.
curling, knee shaking individual
Pretty
from the
much,
South.
yeah, pretty
so
much,
I
yeah.
can't blame them.
You
really,
absolutely,
could I?
yeah. No, I mean, come on,
the
Beyonce,
resemblance.
Elvis, honest mistake.
Very honest mistake. All of them looking exactly the same.
Oh, so listen, heads up, some investment news now, by the way. Heads up, Lagos, Novastar Venture.
Saw that.
Novastar Ventures has closed a $72.5 million US fund for West African investments. They're all set to set up shop in Nigeria, right there in Lagos. As you know, many of you, they're Nairobi based, and they've held a first close of their second venture fund, securing, like I said,
done.
$72.5 million in commitments. You've got investors on board such as AXA Impact Fund. You've got the CDC Group, always in the mix, those Brits. European Investment Bank, Dutch Good Growth Fund, and FMO. I suppose this is a quick heads up to the ecosystem.
Yes.
Money coming your way, basically. Yeah. Because I'm sure
How'd you
there's more
get
where
it?
it comes from. Yeah. How did you get it?
How'd you get it?
I think you need to know someone.
It's water everywhere, not a drop to drink.
Listen, get yourself an expat founder. That's all I'm saying. Real quick.
We're not bad, are we?
No. No, please, you're local. Don't even try that. You're British born, you're local.
So many Cameroonians say, well, you're not really one.
No,
of us, are
stop
you?"
it.
Like, I am.
Stop it. What's a passport? What's the passport? So listen, staying with major investment news, South African private equity fund Ethos has announced a 1 billion rand. That's about $69.8 million. That's it was just shy of $70 million.
Not bad.
But this is a
Surrounding
specific AI fund.
Yes.
And Ethos, historically known for its sort of large buyout funds, has been pretty successful lately, attracting capital to a number of specialist funds, AI being one of them. They've already, by the way, earmarked
How
at
many
about 2/3
African
of it.
AI companies are there that will qualify for funding, but that is earmarked just for that?
Very few. I knew someone that was running a process. I forget the name of the company, but they ran a competition about a year back, and they were looking for exactly the same thing: African AL companies, and they were giving away, I think it was $500,000 or whatever it was. Yeah. They had to can the competition because they were just not getting enough entry. A, but B, I think there's so much that precedes actual optimization of AI as a concept that needs to be dealt with before you can start doing these grandeur gestures of giving away.
Timing is everything, right?
Yeah. Look,
it's like the Mara phone. Is it the right time?
It
might be too late.
It might be too late. Yeah. But in this case, I think, again, this is a PE outfit. So they're investing in fairly established, well-run businesses that have a track record. Typically businesses, I'd imagine, who have come out of consulting in this space.
Okay.
To create some unique sort of track for themselves. At least 2/3 of the money that I've talked about is going to two companies, Channel VAS and Virtus MedTech Group. These are pretty specialist plays.
Actually, we may be looking at, I made the comment earlier about looking through the lens the wrong way. It's not that companies set themselves and say, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be an AI company. It's that the technology developed is where it's applied. For example, let's take Miss Mbimi and her application for value chain management of blood. There are many areas within the healthcare space and even genetic engineering, where I see AI as both a training module and an ability to manage other areas for scenario development and modeling. As Africans, we need to try to look as broad as possible instead of at what's immediate. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that they're looking for companies that are developing solutions versus
marketable solutions.
Marketable solutions that rather than just sitting there saying, oh, we just make AI things.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, when you think of like a SureSwipe, I mean, we had the CEO of SureSwipe on the show recently. And I mean, they're basically an internal innovation turned startup. Yeah. It was an internal division at a pretty vanilla flavored profitable sort of enterprise that was servicing the medical sort of insurance
probably
industry.
Needed to be removed from that environment in order for it to...
And now it's been spun out. And I feel like, that whole Stellenbosch vibe, a lot of the innovation that gets incubated in that ecosystem in the Western Cape is developed in that way. When you think of the likes of Easy Equities or even the likes of a Discovery Insurance, that's essentially a brilliant idea that came out of Liberty. You know what I mean? So so I mean, they pitched those ideas to Liberty internally, and they were like, "Well, you guys want to do that? Off you go."
And Vitality came out of Momentum.
Vitality came out of Momentum. Yeah. Exactly. And MobiLife, by the way, another innovation, a former executive of Liberty, again, striking out, partnering with a reinsurer to do something else. So I feel like there's that brand of innovation.
Entrepreneurship.
There's that brand of innovation that doesn't get enough coverage, on the continent. Because, again, you could question the credentials of, these two companies most of us have never heard, but they've probably been hacking away at it. In the same way, one of our previous guests, the guys from, what's it called? Amazing, the Zing Holdings Group, spent many years, a decade plus, consulting to the banks, as sort of IT consultants, and only now coming to the fore with an IT, with a fintech solution that's kind of making moves.
It just occurred to me, we've been throwing a lot of names around, but there's one name I haven't heard mentioned once since we sat down, and I wonder what's going on with them in all of this. Rocket.
Oh, Rocket Internet. So we talked about them last week.
I used to view them as the Borg from Star Trek. A rather scary bunch of marauders.
So they are, listen, we have mixed feelings around here because, they're trying to spin out Jumia. We discussed this on the last show, and I sense they subscribe to a VC model that I can't vibe with, which is, listen, exit profitably without value actually being created, and you're not invested in the outcome, and,
You know what VC stands for nowadays?
What does it stand for?
Vampiric culture.
Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Vulture capitals. That's also good. That's also good. No. So, yes. No. Rocket Internet... we can't hate the progress the stuff
I admire it. I would love to have it too.
Yeah, but there's a lot to critique. Let me put it that way. Yeah. A lot to critique. So listen, a big shout out to the team that recently launched the Africa Digital Asset Framework.
Yes, indeed.
It's a project that seeks to create unified standards for distributed ledger technologies in Africa and beyond. It's the first open source software platform of its kind that seeks to sort of create transnational standards for digital assets. All of this in line with Pan-African development objectives. So, yeah, shout out to them. The project...
That is very exciting.
Yeah.
I see that as something that will have such an umbrella effect on many areas for many decades to come. Yeah. I really hope that their traction runs deep and wide.
Yeah, and let's get involved, folks. Yeah. I mean, adaf.io. This is not like a bunch of thinkers and thinkers and innovators that are looking to sort of headline innovation. Like, this is genuinely a crowd-sourced initiative.
Yeah, they have an organizational impact, ecosystem, setting of standards. Yeah. Now, speaking of standards, I know it's slightly off. Yeah. And at what point will we see maybe AI and policy come together to create standards for buildings?
What I need to encourage everyone to do is to check out the second part of our mini-series on digital assets featuring the two leading proponents involved with ADAF. It's Ray's founder and CEO, Marvin Colby, and EOS Nairobi Chief Operating Officer, Felix Masharia. You really need to listen to that show because their aspirations around this platform, while it starts with digital assets and distributed ledger technologies, speaks to everywhere we should and could be collaborating as a continent to develop standards that across the continent allow us to know who's operating at an appropriate standard on any level,
People
whether
don't
we're talking
realize
construction.
How much wealth and revenue is developed by instituting standards. Things last longer. Values stay higher longer.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't go deep into it right now, but there's a lot for you to learn on the series we're currently doing, and of course, a lot to learn from being involved yourself. So head to adaf.io and fill yourself in. In the same breath, Binance Uganda has gone live, so congrats to them. But again, as Marvin Colby will tell you, without standards, that means a lot to Ugandans, maybe.
Without standards, we can't have cross-border trade
but to the rest
equal
of us, right?
exchange of value.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been working on things like barter tech at Ovamba. Yeah. And how do we, even on a virtual basis, exchange value within things that belong in wanted here, needed there, which are two different concepts. Yeah. I'm really excited about what they're doing because I think we'll learn a lot from that.
I am telling you. So, and what else I love is like who they've enlisted to bring it to the fore in launching it, but also who they've enlisted up front. And like you said, you've got big names in enterprise, you've got big names in sort of like the emerging sort of blockchain distributed ledger world. You've got big names in terms of academia. Yeah. You've got lawmakers, policymakers. I'm on the WhatsApp group that anyone can join the Telegram. The conversations that are happening, the information sharing that is happening in this genre at a level that I haven't observed in.
Here's a radical thought. Yeah. You say you have a Bahamian is involved in this and some Africans, right?
Yep.
Okay. I was at Wilton Park speaking at a UK, upon the invitation of the UK government, about things that can be done to increase work output in Africa and things around gender diversity. And I made a comment that for a very long time, I've looked at Africans in the diaspora who keep thinking they can make money by creating a chamber of commerce so that they would have an attempt at developing standards, an attempt at regularizing business, and an attempt at finding the right people for you to do business with. And I looked at this and I thought to myself, the presence of technology can do something that is actually far more universal. Mm-hmm. There is already a trade route in existence. Unfortunately, the slave trade was an ugly thing. But the natural triangle between African Americans, West Indians, and Africans could stand to be revived on a technology route with blockchain.
If Marvin was here listening to you, he would be losing his mind.
I have often thought this, but people think, how can you say that? But the first word I hear is slave trade. I say, no, trade. Remove that horrible asset known as us of melanated content and replace it with information, entertainment, origination of content.
Remittances.
And we have a universal trade route that already existed and is just being reinstituted in a different way with technology.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. I love
Absolutely.
that. Medicine. I mean, we
Yes.
were talking about
Medicine,
it earlier.
yeah.
Medicine, yeah.
The learning is across those platforms.
Yeah.
So.
Especially when you start to take a look at what we have in our forests.
Hey, listen, how's Moringa trending right now when we've been having it?
Things have gone too
when
far.
we've been having
when
it.
Moringa is being sold in 7-Elevens as a trace element in something else.
That's
I mean,
nuts,
they
yeah.
will do anything. They did that in Cameroon with something called there was some seed from the bush mango, Obono. Yeah, a Cameroonian by the name of Dr. Julius Oben actually won a PhD for his extraction of one of the few things that will actually cause you to lose weight. You knew things had gone too far when a white guy went and renamed himself Julius Oben and opened a website. And even Dr. Oz and everybody knew about this extraction.
Ovamba way all over again.
Oh, we've seen it before. Yeah.
Jungle, that song too. So yeah, I mean, yeah, oh my word. Okay, so look, I guess a lot of reasons to be excited about a platform that would get us all collaborating on unified standards and a framework for economic exchange on a level that we have not seen. Again, ADAF.io.
They're going to bring an
Just so
ISO standard
to
for
close that
Africa.
down, because people don't actually realize what standardization can do.
Yes.
If you think about the industrial era, the people who decided what the proximity of train tracks should be, or what the velocity of the circular motion, what the standards for that.
Loving it.
The people who decided on that, how
And the knock-on effect.
You understand what I mean? Or the trade routes, or why ships move at certain times of night. The people who sat down and had that conversation and agreed on it is exactly the same place we find ourselves now with organizations that are having the conversation about standardizing the use of technology like blockchain for the next era of Africa. I mean, it's massive.
Dude, even something as basic
This
as the
is
people
for
who decided
IR
what
stuff.
color street signs should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And the whole
it
economic...
was that woman that created the standard road signs that we see today with the icons as they are. It was a woman that did that.
And there's a sticker company
elderly
out there somewhere
English
who's just
woman.
like...
Or the person that created the nutritional badge that you see. All of these things that we take for granted now. They
Or
need to
subway
be
maps.
done. Subway maps. And things that... on an epigenetic basis, we are born recognizing them now.
Yes.
It doesn't take much to have to learn what it means.
That's a crazy thought. The fact that I know what a stop sign is before anyone tells me because it's somehow coded into my DNA.
Or, let me give you another example.
Yeah.
There is actually something called the Devil's Cord that the Catholic Church banned many, many years ago, and every single human being knows it. You'll have to look it up. I think it's not an F flat. I can't remember. But it is the sound that a train whistle makes. You are immediately attuned that this is a dangerous sound. It's a warning of danger. And it was often used in organ fugues when trying to create a certain emotional sense of doom in music. And it was constantly being criticized or removed, and people are afraid of it. The Devil's Cord, you should read about it.
Oh, word. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to check that out.
Standardization, the power of standardization.
Yeah, come together, Africa, and anyone Africa focused. Really, if you're interested in progress on the continent, and even if you have zero cares about where the continent is going, you have to be nuts to not see the economic potential of something of this nature. And even the likes of platforms like Binance, who want to do good business here.
Yes.
You have a vested interest in getting policymakers and regulators on our continent on the same page about
means that you
what
can
exchanges
build your
can and can't
products
do or
if
should
you
do.
know that what you're getting off the shelf in order to create your own solutions will not fail your output because it's standardized.
That's right. So let's speed along because
Sorry.
we do want to have at least 10 minutes to discuss fintech in 2018
Yes.
and
Yes.
hype versus reality. Shout out to Econet, doing well, well on their way to becoming Zimbabwe's first listed $1 billion revenue business.
Is this a unicorn in the making?
I think this is a genuine unicorn, not one that's based on sort of valuation or nonsense like that.
Let's raise money and fund all the debt and stay out of money.
Yes. No. Shout out to the Econet group. Really
Well done.
Doing great. Posted an impressive sort of $122 million profit after tax
These are the numbers
in the last
that
half year.
make us all hopeful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's a massive jump on last year. Nonetheless, in their stable, they have a company called Kwese, and we'll sort of touch on that now because they were dubbed sort of the multi-choice killer or the DSTV killer when they first launched. And that hasn't happened. 2 years since launch, Kwese TV has shut down its subscriptions model. It's cutting off expensive third-party channels. They'll essentially only carry free-to-air religious news and sports channels. And no longer charge monthly subscriptions. Kwese had the opportunity at the start to be a startup in the space doing things differently, doing things that DSTV couldn't do because of its size and scale and relationships and all the sort of legacy infrastructure around licensing and all these other things. But they hired the wrong talent, in my opinion, the wrong thinking that looked to replicate a multi-choice when multi-choice isn't even wanting to be multi-choice in the way they've been in the past. And now really what they're left with is their on-demand services. Some of their licenses, apparently, word is on the street, they're in question now because, of course, they had NBA and the NFL, which, of course, on their best days could never take on the English Premier League.
No, it never
Some
will.
of the other things that MultiChoice has under its massive sort of bouquet of licensing offerings. But yeah, I just thought interesting to see them flounder where we see Star Times of, the Chinese Star Times sort of take on DSTV, perhaps less direct, happy.
You know what?
Content to.
We're going to talk about fintech.
Yeah.
But in this case, this relates.
Yeah.
Once business ecosystems develop, you will get natural attrition as choice comes into the market, availability, price points, and all of those sorts of things. We will continue to see all sorts of different exits based on how the market develops.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's probably normal.
I've seen think pieces on this where people are like, just leave them alone. They're pivoting. They're figuring it out. And I know that's part of it. I also just happen to know when they first came out, I was really hopeful that they would take the game to multi-choice in a way that only a startup plugged into sort of the Econet empire, like only they could. And it feels like a bunch of hiring choices, if I'm to be honest, have made that a sad reality. You've got the Star Times of China just approaching things differently, going... Multi-choice clearly isn't about the people at the lowest end of the sort of income rung. And thriving there, 10 million subscribers later. DSTV responded to them by creating GoTV as a sort of brand to take them on. And it just as a testament to
And all of these
approach.
are available to watch online?
So Kwese has an on-demand service. They're partnered with iFlix. DSTV has, of course, Showmax, which is, again, their sort of Netflix-esque offering. Star Times, I'm not sure.
Because is the African market doing what's going on everywhere else and moving away from just sitting in front of a television, having your television go with you?
So again, things are changing. Yes, mobile is a thing. And it depends who you ask. You might speak to the folks over at Iroko and they'll tell you something else.
That was the name I was trying to remember
Iroko.
as well.
Iroko. Yeah. So yes. But the market is moving to, consuming on mobile and changing our habits. Even Iroko has had to sort of start to participate in what we'd call legacy TV or, sort of cable in order to stay relevant and actually make revenue on their way to the future, which we know is mobile or on demand or whatever it is, But it's not there yet. Radio is a big thing here still.
It still is. And even the format is, when I heard in Ubers in the last couple of days, it's different from the radio format I hear in other places. The DJ still tells you who's singing. I like that. They don't do that.
Yeah, that's
it's real cute.
So but radio's huge on the continent.
Yes,
it's
it is.
Still a big deal, as is sort of DSTV, and what would be required to unseat a multi-choice or a DSTV from the dominant position they're in is, I think, very subversive thinking and not trying to take them on head on. You can't. That 2 decades they have on everybody is clearly a lot more.
David and Goliath.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, South Africa's Telkom has partnered with Netflix. You will find Netflix on their TV box next year.
Snap.
So there's that. But what I'd like us to sort of talk about also in passing is Econet launching a ride-hailing service called Via Lift.
Not Uber.
Not Uber. There's no Uber in Zimbabwe, but there is Via Lift. It's been tested for the past month or so, and it's already, reportedly has 500 drivers on board. My brother's tried it. And he lives in Bulawayo. He says it's great. It's actually quite a thing.
Is there such a thing for motorbikes?
So that whole motto,
Southern Africa,
it's mostly illegal to sort of
have people on the back.
Have people on the back. In some cases,
they are all over parts of Cameroon in a crazy, crazy way. I've never ridden one. I'm afraid of them.
I did it in Rwanda 3 times, and then when I read the stats, when I was shown the data on like the accidents and stuff, I won't be doing that again. Although it was a hang of a lot of fun.
Back to this genetic coding thing, Southern Africa, motorbikes are not associated with safety per se. You know, when you think about consumer transport, it doesn't feature in your consideration set in the same way as I'm sure it features in East Africa or some of those other areas.
Here it's like rebelliousness, actually. Like your boyfriend rides this motorcycle, like you can't bring that guy home. You know, that kind of thing.
That's a definite cultural expression. It's very different.
Exactly. It's very, very different. So shout out to Econet. In the same breath, Safaricom also not content to stay in their sort of mobile telco lane. So Econet and Safaricom trending in the segment for that reason. Safaricom, of course, announcing that M-Pesa, they have a partnership between their M-Pesa product and Western Union.
Oh, Western Union.
23 million active subscribers.
Relevant.
Yeah. I mean, they're I don't know, they're a legacy behemoth if you ever saw one. 23 million active subscribers in Kenya will now apparently be able to send and receive money through their phones.
Western Union are also trying to jump out of their swim lane by getting into not so much incubators and hubs. I spoke with a particularly irritating woman from Western Union in the USA, naming no names at this point, who, when I spoke to them, said, at what point are you going to directly fund those of us who fund SMEs, the very ones who are using your services to move money around? And she said, well, we've got a desk product where you can get tools to help you build business. And not quite the same.
Not quite the same.
It was so boring, I don't even remember the name of the product. But Western Union does struggle to stay relevant.
I think they surf the wave of like legacy infrastructure and the power it delivers.
They take it for granted sometimes.
Yeah, they probably do. And it's kind of sad that on some level there's certain businesses that are not likely to be completely disrupted. Just because of the scale and
for the foreseeable future, I think.
Do you think like a Western Union could cease to exist without like serious structural efforts being made to render what they do, to democratize what they do?
What else they do? I know we've heard terms like too big to fail in some banks, and I'm one of the fintech founders that thinks banks are never going to go away. They will continue to do certain things. Western Union sort of feels that way, but I don't think that they will enjoy the same, the ability to take themselves for granted as a brand or continue to charge their gouging prices, which are not uniform.
Gotcha.
So it's not going to be the same.
The question is in which direction will it shift? And it can't stay. I mean, they can't continue to operate in this form. That wouldn't make sense.
I mean, I used to think Visa and MasterCard were like...
forever.
Well, I mean, no, the opposite actually. I thought they'd be gone by now.
Oh, yeah.
Until I started to understand like what actually props them up.
Yeah.
What's under the bonnet.
And to me, a Western Union is just so representative of sort of France's hand in the structured economic affairs of the world.
Yes.
In a way that...
without actually adding additional value.
And what it represents as a brand, what it represents as a back-end infrastructure, like to break that or to democratize it or force it to change in a way that allows true value or force like true value creation in other ways.
You see, if I was ruler of the world, like some of these think themselves, I would find myself transitioning to become a curator of the best of some of these solutions, services, and innovations, and then just continue to fund them in a way that ensures that they truly impact the ecosystem and infrastructure. And I think that some of these larger groups, as they find their services waning, because they won't really be unseated, but they can become literally the umbrella holder for curating services and solutions in order to maintain customer numbers.
I agree. Right. Which is why I think for the foreseeable future, purchases of a business like Airtel make sense, even though it's a struggling business and you think don't touch that. But I mean, or an MTN or the fundamentals of a Vodacom or a Safaricom, in terms of what it's going to contribute to the value creation infrastructure, broadly speaking, in digital terms, like it's going to be nuts. So I see sort of Western Union in that space, only far less perhaps willing and necessitated to change in the way, say, an Econet has to sort of think about next year or the next 5 years more, you know what I mean? At least that's my sense of it. I haven't spoken to the folks at Western Union. This is my sense of, when you read their press releases or their rhetoric or you engage with their brand in the world, this doesn't strike me as a brand that senses a need to
I don't think they feel the need to
stay in business.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's my perception.
So listen, we have so much more news we'd love to talk about, but we have no time. So forget it all. Let's talk about what, one of the key things we wanted to talk to Viola about and really just tap her in-trench experience and you've got a front row seat to this fintech business we keep referencing on this show in a way that very few do. And so according to the Omidyar network, 70% of fintech venture funding in Africa has gone to retail payment and consumer credit startups. So I'm going to assume they're there or thereabouts in terms of that estimation. And so we won't debate that, which I would have loved to do. But assuming that stat is correct, why that might have been the case this year?
B2B is far more expensive to innovate and maintain and is a much higher apple on the tree is the first thing. I think also we have a copycat tendency on the continent that if we see something as a movement or is growing, and it's a good and a bad thing, that's what we will follow. But there is still the idea amongst customer adoption that banks provide you with financial services for your business, but that you've got options for yourself personally. And the wave of fintech innovation coming from the East has sort of dragged itself with it when you look at its impact on what hubs and accelerators are taken in to teach, because you're going to teach what you know and what you have. You asked the question earlier. Yeah, it's very difficult for Ovamba to have conversations with investors because this doesn't look like what they think the industry is about. Yeah. So there's what's real on the surface, and there's what is incubating based on the realities of what happens when these startups are either gone or no longer startups.
Right.
And then you start to have market development,
right.
And then new set of demands will push a new set of solutions. So I think that the numbers that Omidyar, was it Omidyar you mentioned?
Yeah.
Are right.
Yeah.
However, we had a conversation earlier. Who's curating this information?
Yeah.
How much of it is actually true? Africa's numbers are notoriously unreported.
Yeah.
But I think it feels true and correct to me.
Yeah.
5 years ago, nearly 6 years ago, every time I Googled African fintech companies, I would see M-Pesa. And I have to admit, we started our business idea as how can we get all of the diaspora to take money that they use for remittances and give to us to invest into their countries and their cities so that they don't have to keep on waiting for Uncle whoever to pay them back the money that they sent. This was an idea that was never going to happen. But today, there is some validity to that. The market has changed and moved. Back then, the only company that I knew of that had successfully created a solution like that was a company called Homestrings. Do you guys remember Homestrings?
No, I don't.
Google them and take a look. A wonderfully smart guy, Eric Gishard, ex-World Bank, started that, and his company has gone through a number of pivots. But everybody was still viewing things from the standpoint of Africans send money.
Right. How Homestrings is allowing the African diaspora to invest in projects back home.
Exactly. Right. And he has a bond. He's pretty unique in that respect.
Right.
Much larger tickets. It's a bond. Now we've got everybody, and I'm very concerned that the idea that we all subsist on poverty level income, and if you can just take it a little bit further than that, you're a hero.
Yeah.
We're beginning to see solutions passing down into smaller and smaller micro areas of niches. Yeah. Now, a niche is great, but how micro is micro insurance? Where is the fintech runway for ecosystem development to go from needing a micro solution to a small, to a medium, to a large? And I always come back to this.
What signals each graduation point?
Exactly. Where are we going to find the records that push these solutions to something
standards.
Yeah,
again.
Standards.
How do we know we're being ripped off? Yeah. How do we know this is good for our?
When it's a startup, not a startup anymore.
So if I'm a regulator in the financial services space in any given country, like how do I know that what's being proposed, what's on my desk right now as a proposal to go to market is valid, is actually good for my constituency.
And it's not going to become a bubble later on because everybody's doing it all the time. Inflation happens, prices change.
It's not a vulture play.
It's not.
It's not
a
preying on
vampire
people
play.
who clearly don't have the financial literacy to own their
Financial
future.
literacy is big.
And have agency in a situation.
And to make sure that we were talking about interoperability, we have all of these fintech solutions. That I ran into an amazing group when I was at Catapult, which I know you want to talk about, called Kuzmic. Kuzmic are doing what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago with Western Union. How can they curate a suite of other fintech companies to operate together within their environment for the customers who come to them with financial problems?
Yeah.
Really, really interesting.
Yeah.
That's there will be people that seek to do what funds have done. And I'm now a fund of funds.
Yeah.
You just get bigger and bigger giants.
Yeah.
That could happen.
So let's talk about Catapult. I mean, congratulations.
Thank you.
Not only have you guys won, recently.
Oh, I feel like we
awarded.
were winners there. The winner who was the winner deserved it. Livingston is an incredible guy. I think is he from Zimbabwe? I think he is.
Well, Zimbabwe or yeah, so Zimbabwe or Zambia, yeah, that kind of makes sense either way, given how
the prize was $5,000.
Okay. Okay, so
it really was aimed
nothing money. So that's again, I hate that. Let me just put it out there. I know
you do.
Okay, because I mean, it's taking some of the best minds in our space and teasing them out to Luxembourg in the case of the Catapult program to, I guess, honor their efforts, but also just recognize them, give them platform, give them, give investors sight on what's happening on the continent. All these good things that everyone says happens at these platforms. But I mean, put your money where your mouth is, is my thing. But here's my question, I suppose, in asking about this, because some of these initiatives have genuine intent around manufacturing innovation, right? You have a lot of sort of
not organically growing it.
Yes, corporate interests that are looking to hack innovation in the fintech space. So talk to me about that, you know, how that works or doesn't work.
I have a theory that this is another version of corporate social responsibility.
Okay.
Get a large company to bring in a few younger, smaller innovators, maybe from an emerging market company, have them come over, let them sit at your desk, give them good coffees, sit down, provide training, and say, we've helped to grow that ecosystem. I've even run into companies who have a model that is very bizarre, whereby they say, we don't invest in companies. We may or may not take equity from you, but we will take some of our people to sit in your office and help you solve your problems and just develop you. And for us, we say that we've grown value and we add that to our value balance sheet. What? Renee?
Wow.
Okay, interesting. Wow. So there are strange offshoots that are coming off this. Now, in the case of Catapult, it was not lost on me that Luxembourg, I believe, is a very large center for microfinance institution.
Massive.
And capital.
Strategically, I could not fault you or anyone involved in this program for being there just for the geography.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of what I saw there, but the participants in the group were not equally matched. Right. There was one group there, absolutely slick. They've just done a Series A raise. And I think they're based in Johannesburg somewhere. Then there was us, just about to do a Series A raise, but we are 5 years old. We're a slower growth, almost growth stage fintech. Then there were those who haven't raised any revenue whatsoever. There were two groups from Luxembourg itself. The participants themselves, there was no way to use one standard yardstick for everybody.
Yeah. So what do you make of efforts to harness this? Because there's some people who are skeptical of these efforts. They see this as opportunistic. I mean, they see that. Yeah, I mean, aren't you being tapped? Aren't these vampires like sucking the sort of lifeblood of your IP?
But this is where we as Africans have to grow up, especially in the fintech space, to be able to understand what is my role and response in this. I can see with my eyes wide open what this is, what's in it for me. Sure. And don't be afraid to say, what you going to do for me? Yeah. I'm either going to lift my skirt or let you bite me, but what's in it for me?
Yeah.
And we need to have that approach and not be so quick and grateful. Yeah. because I really liked the Catapult course because it did the following. It reminded me of what the basics are, because sometimes you grow and you can't see down where you used to be, and you go, I got to remember what it was like to get through that because I need to retrench, I need to revisit. They did a very good job of that. But I have a real issue with the fact that some VCs, you go to 10 VCs and they'll all give you 10 different pieces of advice on what your pitch should be.
Yeah.
And how much of this as advice do you take? At what point do you say, I'm sticking to my guns and this is how it's going to be, and I'm just going to keep on kissing the frogs until I find the frog that wants to kiss me back?
And at which point is your time better spent on
Exactly.
building your company from a flippin'? I mean, you say you're pre-Series A. You're already a business success in many metrics outside of like the VC.
How bad was our pitch fund to have raised 1.9 million, and you're saying that it's not good enough to win 5,000?
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
These are my issues. This is what keeps me.
Yes.
But I think that the important thing is that you approach. I mean, where it becomes a problem is if you don't have your eyes open about how you approach these things, right?
Yeah, you got to grow up real quick.
And I think back to your point is that some of these exercises you do because it's part of due diligence of paying your school fees, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And in some cases,
Love how you say
the
that.
upside can't be quantified. And even I suppose your experience here at the Timulachong process,
With JamLab,
with JamLab, where you went through it, and in the beginning you were reticent, and you're like, I could be spending, and yes, you could, but after going through it, there was definitely value acquired. Definitely. And the problem is, I think when you get through the entire thing and you feel like you haven't derived value, but you've actually given up a lot. Yeah. I think that's where the equation is imbalanced.
I met great people, some I want to do business with.
Correct.
And I put myself in a space where, as I said, when I was questioned about my Ovamba solution, I said, let me tell you, all of my fantastic colleagues here, if they do their job well, their customers will be mine. I am your ecosystem. I'm your runway. Yeah. And then the other thing I realized, I got to meet people like State Street. I felt really that we had used our time wisely. Catapult did put together a good group of people to pitch to. Yeah. Now, on the one hand, we were told, stop pitching like you're trying to get them, trying to close them. Well, why else would I be here?
Yeah, exactly. What are you? What inspire us with your story? Is that still what it is?
Yeah, there was a lot of that, but I wasn't going to do that.
So,
but that's how the winner won.
Oh, was it a bit weepy?
Beautiful. It was. It really, really was. But he has a product that is also excellent. Wow. Don't discount Livingston. He's brilliant.
All right. Shout out to you, bro.
Yeah, I was very proud.
What's this business? We'll look it up as we talk.
Is it completely
again, your insight has been invaluable. Now I want to talk about what you've seen as the most overly hyped issue or something that's like a solution, but
let me tell you what it is.
Give me a sense.
I hope that my answer addresses what it is, but I am absolutely sick and tired of individuals trying to evaluate a fintech solution by its ability to reach last milers.
Okay. You mentioned
I am sick and tired of this crap. You want Africa's ecosystem to thrive into the fourth industrial revolution and to become viable, self-sustaining, profitable, and a destination for investors. Well, all markets require diversification. Yeah. Why do we only have to be purely socially impact? Why can't I stand up and say, I'm looking to make a crap load of money? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to get comfortable and uncouple being proud of being poor and ashamed of being rich. This is nonsense. My solution, as I told somebody, this product's not for everybody. I do not reach last milers. They have a solution. I reach the individuals in the middle whose microfinance institution can't give them a few $100,000.
Is this because the prevailing narrative is hyperscale, hypergrowth?
Hyperscale, hypergrowth, and hail the champion of the tiny people.
Oh, okay. So then it's also like the impact narrative, quote unquote.
You know how we're talking about the need to pivot and where will people go? There are some NGOs, they won't have a job anymore if people don't stay poor. Let's be honest.
They're not interested in disrupting themselves.
No, not in the least.
Or basically creating a future that won't render them necessary.
And some of these individuals don't actually have any first-hand understanding of our dear continent. I'll give you two examples. buying a bunch of stuff in a shop in Maryland and speaking to the woman who was helping me. And she said, my goodness, what is all this stuff for? Well, I happen to have an office in Cameroon where I run a company. Oh my goodness, I love Africa. I can't wait to go. I said, oh, what do you plan to do? I can't wait to feed all those starving poor babies.
Wow.
I asked, will you be upset if I tell you there's not so many? Voichen, yes, I've been saving up a long time. It's reflexive. Wow. Now then, let's take a look at how we drink the Kool-Aid, okay? Wow. We've got the outside world who feel better about themselves when other people are not doing as well. That's human nature. I'm winning because you're losing. I'm tall because you're a midget. This happens. It's by contrast. Yeah. All right?
Emerging economies,
yes.
Developed economies.
So we need these continuums in order to be able to figure out where shifting values are and how markets are put together. Sure. But what's going to happen, considering that we've got all of these resources, sun, rain, wind, and everything else, we actually have enough to be the masters of the universe.
Yeah, on the continent.
It's not convenient for some people.
Yeah.
And so therefore, they're accidentally conditioned to maintain a status quo on us.
Well, that's why we need systems. We need an economic system.
And we need systems. We need standards. And
that's why financial literacy is not such a big deal.
Financial literacy, I was just writing this the other day. The minute we create financial literacy with technology and finance to make customers better customers, they become a lower risk. They attract more capital. The entire ecosystem begins to get better if we deal with these fundamentals. Therefore, when you create your fintech solutions, they land on fertile ground. Adoption isn't because I'm desperate, it's I want it. The emotional power of want is way more powerful than need. It's way more powerful.
Wow. So let's talk about in the same breath then the question of your role as a fintech founder in building infrastructure. And again, there seems to be this romanticized notion of, we had to build the pipes and deliver the service and, you know what I mean?
And that's what investors have a hard time understanding about us.
Yeah. So give me a sense of what your perception of that is on the continent and where maybe it's milked or sometimes where it's genuinely underappreciated.
It is. When you walk into an open space, an open canvas where there's never been anything before, there's all kinds of nuance that you're not aware of at the outset. And I often say to founders and technology founders, no matter how good your idea, no good battle plan survives contact with the enemy. You will have to pivot because you're not only entering that space, you're creating it as well. Your very presence in it has completely altered reality. I know this is very Star Trek-y, but it's true. So we found that for every solution we fixed, we actually found there was another problem that was going to affect that solution's sustainability. If you say that you're going to solve poverty by giving money, and you don't know how much money to give, you need to find a way to measure it. When you measure how much money is being given, you will be able to measure how much money is not repayable. Why isn't this money repayable? Oh my word, I need to create a risk model that explains to me who to invest in, who not to invest in, and if something goes wrong, how do I get wind of it before that happens? Oh wow, there are these different people behaving very differently. I need to be able to put that in place so that I can keep on lending money. Oh dear, this money's going out on funding transactions. Some people, if I give them more, have never had more money before. How am I going to teach them how to manage this money in a responsible way? And how am I going to remove from them that sense of tribalism that says, I don't want my neighbor to know about Ovamba because then they will have money too. So let me go out and even though I'm getting money from Ovamba, I'm going to also trash Ovamba in the marketplace. Yes, it happens. Wow. These are things that are not known, admitted to, or coded for. We have to do these things. All right, so this customer, we're realizing that logistics and transportation is really important in the market. How can we make sure that we can fund the purchase of buses but maintain control of the asset? Oh my word, we're going to have to partner with GPS individuals. Okay, we need a new revenue sharing model. How do we do that? Oh wow, this is applicable to this. Hey, didn't know that problem's there. So this continuous concentric movement of solution development accidentally makes you an ecosystem builder. Thing about that is, basically, all Ovamba is doing is making it damn profitable for the second comer in the market. Yeah. Why is this a good thing for us? Because within the African context, being an anomaly is not in your favor. What you need is a movement and a marketplace Otherwise, you're just dancing under
But
the disco ball by
it
yourself.
also renders you a good acquisition target for
Yes,
a platform player who's looking to create a portfolio of
That's the
value.
second answer to your previous question about hype and things I don't like. VCs who ask you immediately, what's your exit strategy? Go sit down, dude or woman. I'm not talking exit strategy with you right now. Now is the time to build. Has it ever occurred to you that the growth trajectory for Africans is longer and slower with deeper roots into value? The same as we are built genetically, we age slower than other people. Yeah, it's a fact. So I can't talk about exit right now.
Wow.
And I am probably not going to talk about exit for quite some time. Anybody coming to talk to us about that is mistaken. Nobody asks Warren of Berkshire Hathaway, what's your exit strategy?
He's here for the
I'm
long
here to
haul.
stay. I am a monolith.
Yeah.
Why can't I be a monolith? It could happen.
Yeah.
There are so many ways to cut this pie up, and there's a lot of pie. It's going to take a lot to eat. As somebody once asked me, what's it like building a Ovamba? You keep on talking about ecosystem and all these things you're doing. Well, it's like trying to eat an elephant. You'll nibble on its ass one bite at a time. That's it.
One day we'll get to the trunk.
And one day I will eventually get to the trunk.
So here's rapid fire because we're totally out of time. But
Sorry, guys.
you've given such fresh perspective around fintech, what to be excited about, a lens for assessing value. And I'm not saying there isn't value in what's turning into the utility of sort of solving for payments.
And we haven't even talked about how fintech will create a secondary market. And that'll be another day, no doubt.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Because being able to shift debt is when you start to see hypergrowth in market systems. Right now, you can't. Banks don't sell their debt to somebody else, not easily. The Douala Stock Exchange, for example, I think in the 10, 12 years it's been there, I think there are no more than 7 companies that are traded on there, and it's just for debt, but it's not done in any great movement. The ability to exit your position easily does not happen. This is why PE will become really important. Secondary strips of equity are not sold easily. Housing markets where you have the first buyer or seller of a mortgage and then you sell and securitize and sell the entire lot. Once we start to see these larger quants of shift and movement into secondary markets and people create arbitrage around that, we will see some serious hyperscale. And all the technology that will need to be built around that, we will need consistent current and electricity to be able to power up all of the engine, both hardware, software, and virtual, to make sure that secondary systems and their little pieces of value don't fall off. I love what's going to be happening with Binance and all of these individuals. These are the markets that will take us into literally the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Because we don't have many secondary markets.
And when you that future you imagine, where do you see Ovamba playing in that future?
We will own the primary and the secondary market, and it will all be digitized. It will be on blockchain. It will be on hardware that we probably designed. Hello, Mara phone.
So you're going to be the NASDAQ of the future.
It's highly possible, and why not?
Yeah, because you're codifying the ecosystem in a way. So
at the very least, we'll be the Dun & Bradstreet of Africa, because we have data on what makes customers work, and that most people will be incredibly interested to take a look at.
Shots fired.
Bang, bang.
Shots fired.
There is no need for a credit bureau under these circumstances. What we're looking at is risk.
Oh, my word.
We've
Look out,
jumped
TransUnion.
over it.
Oh, my word.
We've jumped over it.
Yeah. So listen, rapid fire. Biggest win to date, surveying the ecosystem. What comes to mind when I say biggest win to date for the ecosystem? What within the context of fintech? Ooh. These are like one-word answers for you. Biggest win to date.
For Ovamba?
For 2018. For the ecosystem. For the ecosystem.
Oh, there is increased funding coming into the space. That's a big win for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Increased funding. Biggest loss to date for the ecosystem? Missed opportunity maybe 2018?
Oh, gosh. Hard to say, but I think that there is definitely something missing from individuals continuing to look at micro strategies. They're missing out on that opportunity. Although there's more funding, it's not happening fast enough. It's just that larger amounts slower.
Gotcha. Yeah. Biggest lesson to date, do you think? Say a lesson that we learned as an ecosystem, or you yourself within the context of helping to run and grow Ovamba?
The biggest lesson I've learned as Ovamba is when you raise capital, go raise some more immediately.
I like that.
Okay.
Because it takes longer for us.
Yeah.
What 3 words sum up what Ovamba and Africa might look and feel like when Ovamba is operating at scale? 3 words. When you guys
Fast,
are operating, fast?
accurate, growth.
Okay. And how many years are you giving yourselves to get there? To that future of just sort of
2 to 5.
2 to 5. What do you make of that, Musa?
I'm putting it in the diary.
This is good. We have to have you on the show.
That's what my husband did to me when I did the first raise. And I said, I'm starting a company with Marvin. He said, I'll give you 5 years. And I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. When we raised that first 1.3 from GLI, he just looked at his watch and said, it's been 4 years, 11 months, 2 weeks. I went, you were counting? He says, yeah, in 2 weeks' time, you were headed for a temp job. Yeah.
Oh, my word.
It's good to put the stake in the ground.
I think this is a good place as any to put it down. We so appreciate the time you've made to be
guys.
here. And,
it's great.
And we wish you well, everything you guys are doing at Ovamba. Musa Kalenga, my guy.
Yes, sir.
It's always good, fam. Yeah. Always good. Thank you for doing this with me. Africa, thank you for listening. The rest of you outside our continent, we love that you listen to. Get involved with what we're doing here. It's exciting stuff.
It is.
It's our last for the year, and we thank you for sticking with us. We'll be back. And don't you for one second think we'll leave you untended to over the sort of festive break. You will get great content at least once a week, sometimes even twice a week, all through the festive period.
Christmas gifts.
So don't you think we're leaving you out for the year. We have plenty to share, and we can't wait to do it. But in the meantime, do take care, Africa.